The air travel bubble between Singapore and Hong Kong is finally set to take off on the 26th of May. And that's 6 months later than planned. Quarantine-free travel will be allowed between the two cities, but as Gwyneth Teo reports, there will be tighter conditions.
A more cautious tone was struck as both cities held media conferences. They set out more stringent arrangements for travellers who mustn't have left Hong Kong or Singapore 14 days before departure or be serving a quarantine or stay-home notice during this period. Both sides now also require testing before departure and on arrival. Travellers will have to use contact tracing apps in both cities. Hong Kong residents must also be fully vaccinated at least 14 days before departure. To give them time to get jabs, the first flight will be a month from now. Transport Minister Ong Ye Kung says the wait gives travellers and the tourism industry more time to plan. It's also for both sides to verify that they can control the spread of COVID-19. Singapore, for instance, has barred visitors from India, which is seeing a record spike in cases.
We know that in the region there are places where pandemic is at a very high level, and our alert level is all very high. Our guards are all up. So we want to take that 1 month to make sure that all the control measures were put in place in both cities will work, and I believe they will.
The air travel bubble was supposed to take off in November, but it was grounded after cases went up in Hong Kong. The Transport Ministry said the situation has improved in Hong Kong over the past few months, with very few local unlinked cases reported in the past few weeks. And Singapore has, of course, also maintained a very low count of community cases over the same period of time. And this means that the risk profile or the chance of getting infected in either city is now considered similar. But of course, they're still taking this cautiously, with the air travel bubble only set to take off if both cities are able to maintain these ideal conditions for the next month.
You can't say for sure that everything will be smooth sailing. Even New Zealand, Australia, at the point of launching the bubble, I think both governments also told their populations that ups and downs are to be expected. New Zealand has suspended travel from Western Australia, which has gone into a 3-day lockdown. So I think this kind of stop-start situation is the norm.
Last week, Singapore reported a new cluster in its port and also identified cases in a migrant worker dormitory. Mr. Ong said that seen in context, these are contained away from the larger community. The air travel bubble will be suspended for at least 2 weeks if the 7-day moving average of unlinked community cases in either city exceeds 5 cases.
As Roland Lim reports, not all are keen to get on the first bubble flight.
The travel bubble could see two-way traffic of as many as 20,000 passengers in the first month of operation. And it'll be an economic lifeline to both flag carrier Cathay Pacific and Singapore Airlines. Both economies have seen visitor arrivals battered, 94% lower in Hong Kong from a year ago, 86% lower for Singapore. But some locals in Hong Kong, it seems, aren't keen to travel yet.
暫時都冇乜興趣，因為依家疫情都係好嚴重啦，都驚會自己會受感染。雖然而且都唔係好多人打咗針啦，所以都有少少驚啦。
根本打唔打針都係我哋自己揀嘅啫嘛，一係變咗政府係逼我哋要打針先可以去旅行。
Hong Kong is insisting that residents get vaccinated first before flying to Singapore. Singaporeans aren't required to do the same. Commerce Secretary Edward Yao insists it is a reasonable ask, as it's an additional safeguard.
We have made provisions for the entire community to be vaccinated so as to protect themselves. And the purpose of asking Hong Kong residents going out to have vaccination prior to joining the scheme is in fact protecting their own health.
It's the first step towards the resumption of cross-border travel in an orderly fashion. Hong Kong is also in close discussion with 10 other countries, and the likelihood is that Australia and New Zealand deals could be next, according to the Commerce Minister. That's, of course, assuming that the Singapore and Hong Kong travel bubble runs smoothly. Roland Lim, CNA, Hong Kong.